This is Rana. Howard. Oh, great. Oh no, I'm actually running the meeting. I'm actually in the meeting, and I can give you all the information for it. Do you think that we need to also email it to the rest of? Yeah. So, okay, you know, I'm going to text Jane and just have her send up an update. But how would you like to join? Would you like me to just send you one right now, or? Okay, I'm also popping one into an email to you.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, that worked.
Yeah, it did. I will tell Diane because Diane Sashwell has been trying to get in. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I will mute my. Okay, I'll figure it. I'll talk to Jane. Okay.
All righty, thanks.
See you in a few.
Bye.
Hi, Dan. This is Rano.
Hey, how are you, Rono?
Good.
Hey, Bridget.
Hello, Diane. Trying to unmute.
Oh, Sam, you deserve a big gold star for getting in. Good for you.
let's see, I can send a note to the commission.
So Deborah, did you want me to have Jane do anything? Did you talk to her?
I have not talked to her. I just wanted to get Diane on
Okay.
to see if it worked.
It did. So I can have Jane email the
That
updated.
would be great. So it's just that the shortcut was incorrect, but the
Gotcha.
meeting
Yeah.
ID was fine and the password was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I've asked her to just email it out again.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to call in a panic.
No problem.
Figured you were the one that you would be able to fix it. Help me, Ronald. You're my only hope. That was, that was
Okay.
all right. Question about working. So look underneath the link.
I can turn the volume down.
Oh yes, we just we will see you shortly, Commissioner Heavenridge. Bye bye. Commissioner Heavenridge checked in. He will be joining us, but also ran into the difficulty.
And I also, this is Mike with IT. I just had emails from Ann, Sarah, and Jaylene giving them that same information. So we are on track. Sorry for the difficulties.
We'll just have to talk fast.
Hello, Tom.
Hello.
So I think this meeting is going to probably start late.
It will.
Yeah. I see a lot of people, but not many commissioners.
Well, yeah, our link isn't working, but Deborah told me how to get in, so you figured it out, obviously.
I don't know. I just did what I always do.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you always do it right.
Well, no, I'm just different. Right?
Okay. I'll accept that. That's good. I like
I
it.
mean, do people click on the email that has the link or something? I've never done
Right.
that. I just
You've always done the password.
enter the
and
numbers for the meeting and then enter the numbers for
Yeah.
the password.
Well, that's the way to do it.
That's right.
Well, it just depends upon which one's right and which is wrong.
Yeah. Well, for some reason, the link's not working today, but.
I think it was just an
So
incorrect.
Yeah. So we're using the Thomas Hauser method
That's
to
right.
get in.
I thought it was the technologically challenged method.
Tortoise in the hare, in fact. That was the tortoise one.
There you go.
All right. We see people. And Commissioner Elkins there.
Karen, Sam,
Mr. Cahill may have a problem.
Did everybody else get the invalid meeting ID thing happening initially?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the link is incorrect, but the meeting ID was fine.
Mhm.
Good, it wasn't just me.
No, it was everybody. Truly everybody.
No.
So we're going to give folks a few minutes to figure it out. I'm watching my phones to see if anybody calls.
Hello there. That was exciting,
Wonderful
wasn't
day.
it?
Congratulations.
Yes.
9 of us, I think.
You passed the test.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the link we were sent out earlier did not match the meeting ID. That's the
That's
problem.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, well. Clears my sinuses right there.
Let's see. I think I'm missing Reese.
There's Reese.
Is Reese here?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. And Commissioner Newberg? No, to Joel. Ah, there's Reese. Right, you're right.
I'm sorry, I'm late. I apologize.
No, we all experienced the same
Having
difficulty.
trouble.
Everyone had the same trouble.
Good.
All good. So I'm going to give, I think we're only missing Commissioner Newberg of the commission, but Director Hammond, is everyone from staff here who needs to be here?
Seems to be.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we hit 6:04. I think I'm going to start. All right, we are going to get started. I am going to call the meeting to order, and pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953, all votes during this teleconference meeting will be taken by roll call. Welcome to the Sonoma County Library Commission, May. All right, commissioners. Commissioner Cahill, you here?
Here.
Commissioner Elkin?
Here.
Commissioner Foxon?
Here.
Commissioner Heavenridge? Commissioner Heavenridge?
Unmute.
Commissioner Hauser?
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie? Here. Commissioner Mulford?
So I have this on my earbuds.
Okay, that's better.
Is that good?
Yeah. It's not
Okay.
irritate me. So I got work to do. So
Commissioner Parker?
Here.
less I
Commissioner
hear.
Schneider?
Okay.
Plus
Here.
it'll piss me off.
Commissioner Newberg? Okay, he will probably be joining us later. So welcome to the May. It's an exciting time. The libraries have started to open, so I'm sure we're going to hear plenty about that. And so why don't we get started, because we have a lot to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is rearrange the agenda a little bit, and we're going to bring the resolutions at the end of the agenda to the beginning of the agenda. So,
Sherry's on.
I'm sorry?
He's on, yeah, she has to be on.
And that is action, the action item 11, action items by resolution 11.1 and 11.2. 11.1 is the resolution for lawyers in the library program. Mr. Hawley, do you want to talk to us about that?
Certainly, Chair Doyle and Commissioners. Jane, if you could help me out with the scrolling here, I'll be happy to read the resolution. The Commission determined at the beginning of the year that it would have a resolution each month honoring one of our community partners. And this month, it's a resolution honoring the Sonoma County Law Library and the Sonoma County Bar Association. Whereas the Sonoma County Law Library and the Sonoma County Bar Association have been partners of the Sonoma County Library, and whereas the Lawyers in the Library program, co-sponsored by the Sonoma County Library, offers free legal information and referrals to the public, and whereas those who need legal information and referrals may consult at no cost with an attorney for up to 20 minutes and may bring support persons and family members to the consultation. And whereas library branches have hosted this program in the past, and this year, due to the pandemic, the Sonoma County Law Library is hosting virtual consultations through its office. And whereas the partnership enhances public awareness and knowledge of legal resources within the community, benefiting those who need affordable, free, and accessible legal assistance. And whereas 70 volunteer attorneys have helped 428 people since the program's inception in 2017. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sonoma County Library Commission recognizes the extraordinary community partnership between the Sonoma County Law Library, the Sonoma County Bar Association, and the Sonoma County Library. The resolution is signed by the Library Director and the Commission Chair, dated today, May 3rd, 2021. And Chair Doyle, I believe we have representatives from the Law Library and the Bar Association here with us tonight.
Excellent. Now, I believe we need a motion and a second, yes?
I'll move it.
A second.
Who was second?
Paul Heavenridge.
Oh, thank you very
Second.
much. All right, then I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Cahill, you introduced. Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Foxon,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Mackenzie,
Yes.
Alford.
Yes.
Is Commissioner Newberg here yet? No. Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
and I will make it unanimous for those of us who are here.
And Commissioner Heavenridge says yes also.
That is, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Since you were a second, I just sort of, all right. So who do we have from the law library and the Bar Association?
Hi, everyone. Sure. My name is Stephanie Hess, and I'm this year's president of the Sonoma County Bar Association. Thank you so much to the commission for the recognition. The Bar Association is absolutely thrilled to be part of Lawyers in the Library and in a program that is increasing access to justice for the most needy in our community. It's a great privilege.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Do any commissioners have comments?
Chair Doyle, I believe Amy Jarvis and Nicholas Blikas would also like to speak.
Excellent. Please do.
Amy, are you going to do this first?
You know what? I just echo Stephanie's sentiments. I don't think I could, express myself any better than that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well, of course, I want to thank you. I'm the director of the Sonoma County Law Library. And of course, I want to thank you first for this recognition and for doing this. And I just wanted to make sure that you all will hear something today that as the director of the law library, I'm in a position to witness the importance and the necessity of this program. Every single day, we welcome people at the law library with legal issues and legal questions over there. And unfortunately, the truth is that access to justice is not equal in this country. The majority of people cannot afford a lawyer. Most of them are not poor enough to qualify for free legal aid. And here in Sonoma County, we can be a little bit more proud that we provide this program, and we provide the opportunity to these members of our community to see a lawyer for no cost. With this program, we provide help, solutions, guidance, hope to these desperate people. And even though this is not enough, we can do more. I want all of us, I want to thank you, both the Bar Association and the public library, Sonoma County Public Library, for providing the space and the advertising of this program. So this way we can reach out to all corners of Sonoma County, to areas outside of Santa Rosa. So thank you for doing this, and all together we can help our community. Let's be together on this, and let's keep this program alive.
Thank you very much. You know, we are in the middle of the library's in the middle of a strategic planning process, a reimagining, if you will. And we have noticed over the last year, of course, that the cracks in our community have turned into fissures, and you're certainly at the nexus of some of those problems right there, and are helping people cross those divides. And so I think that just know that we are very conscious of our ability to be able to help people in the community by putting organizations like yours in touch with the community in a way that, you know, certainly the library staff can't do, but you can do it. So if we can help make those relationships work, we're delighted to do it. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming to our commission meeting. We're sure you are certainly welcome to stay, but you may have other things. All three of you may have other things to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item is a resolution acknowledging Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month. Commissioner Mulford, since you worked so hard on this with Ray and with the staff, I thought that you might be willing to read the resolution.
Thank you. I'm happy to do that. Let's see. So the resolution honoring Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, whether they migrated to or were born in America, have and continue to contribute to the development, growth, and diversity of Sonoma County, the state of California, and all regions in America. And whereas AAPI communities contribute diversification in the racial, knowledge, cultural, educational, social, artistic, and other aspects of Sonoma County's community strengths that support our residents' ability to learn, grow, and thrive. And whereas AAPI community members across the nation are currently suffering an increase in violent hate crimes incited by racial bias and exacerbated by divisive national political posturing, then inferred that AAPI communities were to blame for the COVID-19 epidemic and its ongoing effects in America. And whereas the Sonoma County Library welcomes everyone and stands in solidarity with our AAPI communities, and whereas the American Library Association and Sonoma County Library affirm the Asian Pacific American Librarians Association statement that our Asian American, and Pacific Islander communities have been deeply impacted by attacks that have caused physical and psychological harm. And whereas the Sonoma County Library and its staff are committed to addressing cultural bias and bigotry and will align our investments in collections, programming, and engagements to support all of our communities in seeing themselves reflected in their libraries, as well as learning more about their fellow community members of all races and origin and themselves through shared experiences. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sonoma County Library Commission acknowledges May 2021 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and the extraordinary contributions that Asian American and Pacific Islanders make to our community.
Thanks very much. Can I have a motion?
I so move. Thomas Hauser.
I'll second it. Paul Heavenridge.
Okay. And any discussion?
You may not be aware, but my wife and I, many years ago, adopted a Korean girl who is now over 40. And growing up in Sonoma County, that really wasn't a big issue because there are fair numbers of Asians floating around. But she's living in Nebraska now, and that's different. I haven't heard her complain about any kind of prejudice, and she's getting along just fine. But it is a concern for all of us that people would think that because somebody has a slightly different skin color or different kind of hair, that they're not right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hauser. Anybody else? Okay, then let's vote on that. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge, you said yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Allen said yes. Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Newberg. Yep. Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I'll make it unanimous. Thank you very much. Do we have community representatives from Asian American organizations? I know it was
I'm here. Great.
Excellent.
My name is Tammy Sakanashi. I'm the interim dean for health sciences from Santa Rosa Junior College. Our president, Dr. Chong, couldn't make it, so I'm here to represent two groups from our campus, the Asian Pacific Islander Staff Association, and I work with a student learning community, the Asian Pacific Islander Student Success Group. And we just want to say this was very meaningful for us. I've been in Sonoma County, I've lived here for 26 years now. And I have to say that when I first moved here, I felt very isolated. And my daughter was the only Asian in her school. But now I feel like we're part of the community. And I think that many Asians here now that there are many more of us, we feel much more a part of the community. So thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. And we're working on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and have been for for a while. But we really want to make it formally part of our organization, and the staff is particularly is championing it. It's tougher to diversify the commission, I have to say, but we're working on that too. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you from everybody.
All right. And you're welcome to stay, of course, for the rest of the meeting. However, you may have other things you wish to do.
You're not required to stay.
There you go. Commissioner Hauser speaks for us. There we go. Do we have, let's see, first presentations. Okay, so yeah, that's right. Public appearances is after the presentations. We look forward to hearing from Roanoke Park Cotati.
Thank you, Chair Doyle. I'm going to share my screen. Oops, looks like I can't do that yet. Oh, there we go. Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Hoft. I'm the branch manager of the Roanoke Park Cotati Library. And on behalf of the team here at the Roanoke Park Cotati Library, I'd like to thank you all for letting me join you tonight to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. And I've included on the first slide here a picture of the building exterior. This is our wonderfully tree-lined walkway leading up to our building entrance. I think it's a very welcoming entryway into our building. And one of the unique things I think about the Roanoke Park Cotati Library is that we actually serve two municipalities, the cities of Roanoke Park and Cotati. And you'll see noted on the first slide that we have two commissioners. So we have Commissioner Parker for the city of Cotati and Commissioner McKenzie for the city of Roanoke Park. And on the next slide here, this is all of the wonderful smiling librarians that you will see in our buildings and out in the community. So we have two children's librarians, two adult services librarians, a teen and adult services librarians, and then myself as the branch manager. So you'll see us staffing the service desks in the building, hosting events, and then connecting with community partners out in the community doing outreach. Next, this is our amazing circulation team. We have 4 library specialists. We have a supervising library specialist. We've got a 50-50 library specialist and library aide, and then also a library aide. And so these are the folks that you'll see when you first walk into our building. They will be the ones helping you with your account information, getting things checked out to you. And most importantly, I think, getting things from the shelves and into your hands so that you can use them. Next slide here, you'll see a little bit of information about our building. And the image on the left is a snapshot looking from the entryway just past the circulation desk into the main reading room. And you'll see the wonderful high ceilings with the exposed beams. You can kind of see in the picture that we've got floor to ceiling windows on both sides of this room. So it's a really bright open space. I like to think it's very welcoming and a nice place to use, to sit in, to do whatever you want to do, whether it's reading, studying, or just browsing the shelves. Also in our building, we have a teen space. We've got a dedicated children's room. We have a small conference room and then a large meeting room. And on the image to the right on the slide, you'll see the large meeting room, the Armando Flores meeting room, is one of our book sales with the Friends of the Library. And they host annual sales that help support what we do. They provide us with funding for extra programs or materials for our collections. The Friends are a really dedicated group, and when we're open in the usual times, they're in our buildings every day. It's a wonderful community partner that we enjoy working with. And one thing that our Friends group is lucky to have, and I think really really helps the Roanoke Cotati Library is they have a dedicated bookstore. And I think aside from bookstores that support services to Sonoma State, it's the only bookstore in the Roanoke Park community. We also have a library advisory board. We've got 7 members. We currently have several vacancies, so we're looking to fill those. On the next slide here, you'll see a little bit of demographic information. Of the 2 images there, the one on the right, you'll see the city limits for both municipalities. So that's the Roanoke Park and Cotati service areas. The image on the left shows a snapshot of the card holders, the active library card holders within that service area. So combined populations are about 50,000 people in our area. We have about 32,000 active card holders for the Roanoke Park Library, Roanoke Park Cotati Library as their home branch. However, the way this information was displayed on here, it just included a snapshot of the card holders in the city limits. So you'll notice there's kind of a gap as it goes towards Pangrove. I think if you were looking at the whole view, it would include those card holders outside of the city limits that were defined by this. We have about 17% of the population that speak Spanish as the primary language in their home. And then we are actively working on getting Student One cards to all members of the Cotati Roanoke Park Unified School District. This next slide shows a few data points. And this kind of covers the years 2019, 2020, and the current year. You can see on the left-hand side, the circulation numbers. So the monthly average for us in 2019 was about 24,000 checkouts per month. And you can see during curbside service, we've been checking out about half that much, so about 12,000 checkouts per month. That doesn't mean we weren't busy during this time. On the far right-hand side of the slide, you'll see some curbside pickup information. We average about 1,800 curbside pickups per month during curbside service. And let's see other information for you about our branch. We have a rather large collection, over 94,000 items. And between our building size and collection size, that puts us at a tier 1 library within our library system. So that would be along the lines of Petaluma and the Central Library as well. In the normal times before the pandemic, we're a very busy branch when it comes to events and programming. We average about 450 events per year with just under 12,000 attendees. On this next slide here, you can see some of the highlights that we want to share with you. We do serve all ages in our communities. And you'll see here a picture from the Stay and Play Storytime. So we often hear from members of our community that the Storytime is one of the few free places that families can come with their children and enjoy socializing. They don't have to pay anything to get in, and they can just experience the event and afterwards communicate and meet with other families. You'll also see an image for our community coffee program, which is supported by our Friends of the Library. Before the pandemic, we had weekly community coffee where people could drop in, get a cup of coffee, have some pastries, and really connect with other members in the community, just talking or sharing ideas, and also providing us with feedback about what they'd like to see in their local library. Aside from these more localized events, we also have several large events over the past several years. In 2019, we were lucky enough to host author Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. We had over 300 people in our building that evening. It was amazing. That, if you can recall that slide showing the building interior from earlier, that room was packed. It was really just a different experience for a library. You'll also see on this slide in the bottom right corner, our annual Moonlighters event, which draws folks from all over. It's a very festive event outside held during the summer months. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to have it last year, but we look forward to doing that again in the future. And this last slide here, this slide kind of represents some of the challenges that we faced over the past year during the pandemic, and also some of the opportunities that we have to look forward to. If we focus on what we've been able to do during the pandemic, we recognize that connectivity was an issue for a lot of folks in our communities. And we were lucky enough to have our Wi-Fi expanded this past March. It now extends to our parking lot, to the public courtyard that's adjacent to our building. And it's accessible 24/7. So we frequently see people in the nice shady area behind our building on a bench using their laptop. So even when we're closed or not open to the public, that connection is still available to people for free. The last thing I want to let you know is that recently we participated in the Reimagining plan for the library. I believe there's a presentation later this evening about that. And what we were able to do was connect with community leaders within the cities of Roanoke Park and Cotati and try to learn what they wanted from us, how we could help them better achieve their goals and aspirations. We met with everyone from city officials to student body presidents, and we really learned a lot about how we can make meaningful change. Some ideas were expanding outreach to the city of Cotati. One of the challenges that we face is, though we serve both cities, we're located in the city of Roanoke Park. We also want to connect with underserved members of our community more. And the image that you see right above that, meeting the needs, is a picture of Strawbees, which are kind of a STEM-oriented building project. And you take pieces and put them together. And it was kind of meant to be an aspiration for us that, we're going to take all these pieces from what we've heard from our community and hopefully build something really great moving forward. And that's the end of the brief tour of the Roanoke Park Cotati Library. I want to thank you all for letting me speak with you again. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Thank you so
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Commissioner McKenzie, go.
Yeah, I just want to thank Phil for this excellent presentation. Last week, I was so thrilled, along with all of us, that we could get in the library, and I made an appointment and went in, and it was just, I felt so wonderful just walking in that space. It's a beautiful library. I love seeing the staff that had made it through the pandemic year. We're still there. It was great to see everybody. I want to thank Phil personally. I'm not sure, Phil, have you been there 3 years, 2 years?
Since September 2019.
Okay. And as we found out, I believe last month, Phil is transferring to Windsor. He's just done a wonderful job at Roanoke Park Cotati. And when the Friends of the Library and the Library Advisory Board found out that he was transferring, there were a lot of sad faces and a lot of thank you to him for his excellent connection to the community through these groups. He's just a really great guy to work with, and he knows his stuff, and he's very collaborative and welcoming, and he's just done a wonderful job. And I want to thank you personally, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
We promise we will welcome him with open arms in Windsor.
I'd like to echo Barbara's compliments. As a new member of the commission, Phil and I were able to talk, and I really appreciated the background he gave me about the particular branch and the work with both Cotati and Roanoke Park. And I wish him well in Windsor, and we're all going to miss him here.
Thank you, Rachel.
So do you have, this is completely off the cuff, but do you have special collections in Roanoke Park that perhaps are not in the other branches? I think sometimes we don't look abroad as often as we could in the system. And so I just wondered what should lure me down to Roanoke Park from Windsor?
I don't think that we have any special collections, other than we do have microfilm reels for the community voice and various iterations of the local newspaper. And we also have some yearbooks going back a few decades, so from the local high school. Other than that, I mean, we don't have a unique collection, like a local history collection that some of the other branches may have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we do have, some wonderful fiction and nonfiction shelves to browse. Our librarians are really really into maintaining excellent collections. That's one of the things they really enjoy doing. So I hope there's a wealth of variety and serendipitous finding that people can find when they come in.
There's always something interesting to find in any library. We all know that. Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? All right, thank you, and thank your staff, and we appreciate your putting this report together for us.
Thank you all.
Are there any public comments on this? I suppose I should ask for public comments on. Okay, seeing none. Then we're going to move to the Reimagining Plan report.
Thank you, Chair Doyle and Commission. Diana's here with us this evening, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Reimagining Plan. I'll set the stage first, and before I start talking, I want to apologize in advance if you hear noise behind me. I have a little kitty who objects when I do stand-up meetings. She thinks I should provide a lap at all times. The Reimagining Plan began as more of a traditional strategic planning process in late 2019, an all-day retreat with the commission, with OMT, with the branch managers. I did meetings with the staff at the locations. We began having open houses at each library location and talking with the customers as they came in. We did online surveys and paper surveys. And then we got about halfway through that and were shut down by the pandemic in March of 2020. We put everything aside for several months. And as we started to look back at what we had gathered, we realized we needed to broaden our thinking. We needed to take more of the approach that is espoused by the Harwood Institute of looking outward, turning outward, and asking people what are their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, their fears for their community, rather than asking them specifically about the library. So we completely reimagined our approach, and we did a lot of listening sessions, online listening sessions with various stakeholder groups. Sessions were bilingual.
Excuse me, Anne. I'm going to ask people to mute themselves. If you're not Anne Hammond, you should mute yourself.
Thank you. So we offered bilingual sessions to encourage everyone from our community to participate. And we also, as Phil mentioned, we did one-on-one interviews with community leaders. And this was done by the branch managers and the librarians. They did a fabulous job of collecting that detailed level of individual input. So we had tremendous success in bringing all of these thoughts together. And Diane is going to talk about our findings.
Thank you, Anne, commissioners, Chair Doyle. As Anne said, the responses that we received were very diverse. The branch librarians and their team did such an incredible job reaching out to new partners. We had the LGBT community represented, the Spanish speakers, children, teens, seniors, special needs. It was very impressive. Also, the teen librarians rallied together and reached out to their partners, and we received 402 responses, and the teens were very generous in their comments. So we learned a lot from them as well. So that was a really wonderful thing. So some of the pieces that we're looking at with the findings, we realized there were barriers, and then the pandemic came. And recently, Sonoma County was one of two counties named in the news that there's an anticipated severe drought. So yet something else that needs to be addressed as we go along. So we need to constantly be navigating and redistributing what it is we're doing and how we do things. The overarching concepts, those were developed by the Sonoma County Library staff team. We created a task force. Every single department was represented. The union also gave recommendations, and we had participation on that aspect. The list on the screen is what was from the most common to what was the least common. And I think we really need to look at that when we start thinking about our goals, the mission statement, the vision statement, and trying to capture as many of those pieces as possible. We also looked at the Sonoma County strategic pillars, of which there are 5, not in any particular order. And those also will be considered when we are looking at what our plan's going to be. So some of the recommendations, if we could scroll so that the recommendations can be seen on the screen. Does everyone see them? Thank you. Whoops. So one of the things that Ann and I will start doing is we're looking at the organization as a whole and what is it that we need to sort of complete what we are doing as far as programs and services. And as we create that model of service, what are the holes that we need to get either partners or staffing components? So we'll be coming back to you with some concepts. And we'll be looking based on the priority of what the aspirations were of the community members. That's how we will start prioritizing, because there's, quite frankly, there's not any way to do all of these things. But there's so many needs. And so Ann and her group will start chipping away at pieces, and then each budget year will review, well, they'll be reviewing it and introducing new models, but also recognizing that if something isn't working, then we need to really evaluate why there seems to be not as a large success as was originally anticipated. It's important that as things change, the policies and procedures are also reviewed. We want to make sure that everything lines up so that your goal, your services, your programs, the policies and procedures, your staffing, all of those pieces have to be looked at. So it's a huge project. But I think the results are really going to be worth the effort. We'll also be looking to the commission for a very flexible budget so that as changes are done, Ann can quickly make those changes and reduce delay. Then there was a lot of conversation about collection. So I have a lot of suggestions on models that have been quite successful on developing collections and targeting those communities. We'll be looking at creating community profiles so that we can look at Sonoma County as a whole, but also the uniqueness that we discovered within each of the communities and making sure that we are addressing those. We'll also be being very consistent, revisiting our partners, having them be part of the conversations throughout the process. So a lot to come. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
We do, and I'm going to take the privilege of chair to start. Just to go back to something you said at the beginning, the overarching concepts to be developed into goals, aspirations, and targets. And you said that they went from sort of popularity down. So
yes.
because I have to say that all of those are incredibly daunting, and some of us thought, why weren't they compressed into, say, 3 or 4, maybe 5 strategic goals or something like that. So I'm assuming that that may be part of what's next.
That will be part of what's next. What we have here are the overarching concepts, as Diane described. So these are the things that came out of the meetings as priorities for the community. But if you look at them, you'll see that some of them sort of nest together. And I believe we can make this a little more accessible in terms of goals. We can create things that we can take action on to address all of these concepts without having each one listed as a separate goal.
And we also, as those of us who are inside know, the next budget is right in front of us. We're about to dive into the budget, and in earlier years dove into the budget before creating the budget for the next year earlier than this. So some of us are understandably nervous. What I think the commission doesn't want to happen, and probably the community as well, since we've had this wonderful conversation about goals and things like that, is we don't want it to be, last year's budget in the year. We don't want it to be a standard budget. We really do want to reflect the concepts that you all have teased out from the community and from the staff. And so we're, and it's hard to imagine how we can kind of do that. So I think that argues that a flexible budget is even more important, so that we can articulate some of the larger goals that we have developed this year. But we also want to make, pick the people who are looking at the budgets with a keen eye happy enough, so that they know that a flexible budget doesn't mean that we're lying about figures and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But again, we don't just want to have last year's budget and the year before. We don't want to have, and I'm making this up, but if 80% of the budget is on collections, perhaps it's not the same collections this year. Perhaps it's not 80%. Perhaps it's something else. And we don't want to let last year's figures. I mean, if something needs to be added, then perhaps the community doesn't need it as much anymore. So we don't want to just keep tacking on to the budget just because maybe the sales taxes are up or the property taxes are up. And I'm sure we're going to have those conversations, vibrant conversations about that during the budget conversations. Let's see. And I also heard and want to emphasize for the listeners that this is not just for this year, that this reimagining really is about the future of the library system within the community. This is not just this year's budget. I think if any organization who has gone through this pandemic and goes back to the way they were before has really lost an opportunity to radically change its operation and be more responsive, much more responsive to its community. And I would not want us to do that. All right, other questions and comments from commissioners. David, Commissioner Cahill.
Yes. I'm looking at the strategic pillars and at the overarching concepts, and I see 2 pairs that are essentially duplicative: racial equity and social justice, and climate action. What is the theoretical difference between an overarching concept and a strategic pillar?
So do you want me to take that, Ann?
Go for it.
Yeah. So the Sonoma County actually has a 5-year strategic plan, and these are their pillars from the Sonoma County that were created. The overarching concepts are the highlights that were pulled from all of the responses. It seemed important to compare, not to compare, but try to figure out where Sonoma County Library can partner with those, because sometimes there's potential funding or there's opportunities with the Sonoma County departments that the library can work with. So by identifying that, if an opportunity comes up, you already have those pieces that are there. Do you want to add to that, Anne? Or?
Well, I just wanted to say that part of our thinking here is that we recognize that we're part of the whole, we're part of the greater operation of the county and the 9 partner cities within the county. And so we wanted to reflect what are the things that are important to the county supervisors and to the county operations. And looking at that versus what we've collected, you can see there's a lot of overlap. So that tells us that we're all on the right track here of finding new ways to serve our communities during these changing times.
Mm-hmm. So what's next?
What's next? We are going to take the information that you see above you is just, our bullet points, our thoughts outlined. We're going to put that into more of a plan format, kind of a marketing piece that you would expect to see for a strategic plan. And we will bring that back to you in June.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Comments?
Yeah,
I do.
Commissioner Elkin first, I think, right?
Thank you. First, I want to add my apologies to Anne's. I have a new rescue dog as of 2 days ago, and it seems like he gets upset if I start talking. So apologies if you hear some background noise. Thanks for sharing this. I'm hoping you could say a little bit that would bring this into a little stronger contrast. And what I mean by that is, can you talk a little bit about those overarching concepts that maybe were more surprising or that represented a bigger shift from the way we've done things in the past, or what you expected, as opposed to those that seemed more like a continuation of, concepts and themes we've previously embraced?
Want me to start, Anne? So that is actually a great question. The assignment was that anybody that had a one-on-one interview couldn't go to a partner that they already had. And they had to be unique. They had to be someone that normally they wouldn't be talking with. During that, the librarians discovered a lot of things that were surprising to them. More Spanish speakers. The teens wanted more challenges in their collection. There was a lot of partners that wanted to be more participatory. That I think was one of the greatest takeaways, are those partnerships that were built, and hopefully those will continue. I know Anne really believes strongly in developing and maintaining the partnerships. The other parts that we realized is people really cared about other people in such a way that they were willing to adjust their library perception, because some people, they come in, they check out the books, they come in and they do story time, whatever, but it was, we really care about the kids, they not having Wi-Fi. We really care that certain people feel they can't come into the library. So there was a lot more compassion expressed. And then you see the partnerships and the collaborations. Ray was great. He created a spreadsheet with great detail so that now we have a way to communicate with those partners that had the one-on-one interviews. So Ray is really staying on top of that. And we hope to continue that. And it'll also be a mechanism to keep building on what you already have going. Those were sort of the big pieces. The other thing that was not a surprise, but kind of heartwarming is the the desire to have more farmers markets and having the library be part of that. Creating food centers and having the library be part of that. So everybody was thinking about what they did, but how can the library be part of that? Like the food bank, maybe the library can be there to do story time, or, I mean, just really the partners started thinking about, well, now how can we invite the library and make them part of our mission? So.
Yeah. And I think what Diane said is exactly right. You expect to hear lifelong learning and support children and technology. And we did hear that, but the conversations that centered around compassion and resiliency, and you can tell that it's a direct reflection of the things that have happened in this county over the last few years. We've faced a lot of challenges, and the community recognizes that it's likely to continue. But people are very caring, and they want to make positive change, and they see the library as a partner in advancing racial equity and community resiliency, and that's a very it's a very encouraging thing for me to have that kind of feedback.
Did that answer your question, Andy?
Sorry. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes, thank you. I think this is great. I was kind of a late comer to grasping this concept of the general plan that really was a community-wide needs assessment, really. But I'm getting it now, and I think you pulled it together in a really clear way. I want to just address two things. One is the Sonoma County strategic pillars that Commissioner Cahill referenced. I was kind of shocked to hear that those were Sonoma County supervisors' strategic pillars. Not that that's a bad thing, and certainly would be a way that you would approach Sonoma, any other county library system. But we're so different. I mean, that is actually only one of our partners, right? I mean, one of the joint powers is the Sonoma County supervisors, the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors. But then there's the other jurisdictions and their councils and their priorities. Probably I'm sure there's a lot of overlap, but certainly if we would do this kind of presentation and marketing materials, we wouldn't want to just cite the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors priorities, because they're just one partner in the joint powers agreement. So that's one thing. And then I think I know that Chair Doyle addressed this, and she probably fleshed it out as better than I can. But my question is having to do with budgeting and down under recommendation, developing programs and services that reflect these needs. Again, long-term, big deal, lots to do. And how do we start seeing that in a budget that's at all specific enough that we can kind of get our teeth into it? Because we're going to have a budget hearing at the end of May, and we're going to authorize expenditures. And, what kind of detail will we have by that point to feel like this is fleshed out enough that we can put dollars toward things?
You're not going to have detail in terms of this is a new program that we need money for. The detail will be more along the lines of we're going to be doing more partnerships. We're going to be looking at ways that we can address racial equity and community resiliency. We're definitely looking at youth development, opportunities for learning, technology, addressing the digital divide. So those are places where we will have some placeholders for budgetary needs, but not the level of detail that you have seen in past.
And also, I think it's important to state, we've also seen what we need to eliminate. So Ann and I are also looking at things that didn't come up. And really evaluating, is that something that needs to be continued? So you'll be adding and taking away during this process, and also the collection. And, how much of it's going to be electronic? How much is it going, because one of the things that the educators that they talked to, they were very impressed with what databases were available in like tutor.com. And so Anne will be looking at a very global, large, how are we going to make a virtual library? So you actually are adding a branch. So how does that fit in? So it'll be, as Anne says, very big, very broad, and then fine tuning it as we go.
Great, thank you. I think in previous years, commissioners have introduced their own. We've all said these are the 3 priorities that I see, and then we've kind of put them together, and we did that this year with not really, I think, as much direction as I might have given, only because this wasn't quite done. So perhaps this is an opportunity for the commissioners to take another look and maybe reframe their own priorities, looking at these concepts, looking at these priorities as we move into the budget conversations. Any other commissioners have comments, questions for Diane and Anne?
Yes.
Karen, sorry, I didn't see your hand up there. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to just say, to echo that, really this is the information that I need before I can even begin to answer the question about priorities. Thank you for your work on this. It's really interesting. Thanks.
Great.
And can I just ask something, Deborah? I really hope, because I'm not going to be involved in, at some point I'm going to be going away. I really hope the commissioners, if you want more detail for responses or anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, because I think in your priorities, what your community members have voiced were really exceptional. And they were very clear, and there were large percentages. And if anybody's interested, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to share why these are the way they are, if I can answer questions, if, it'll help, whatever I can do, because I really believe strongly in this process that, we asked your residents and they responded in a very thoughtful manner. So anyway,
Thank you.
My 2 cents.
No, but that's really important to know, and we will take advantage of it, we promise. Sorry about that.
No, okay.
Anybody else? All right, I think this is a good beginning, and we look forward, although, going into the budget process, we're going to have to, it will be uncertain a little bit. And so I think there'll be some nervousness, but that said, I think that we can really create a terrific plan moving forward. And it's just wonderful to know that the staff was energized by the community, and that, and then it's our wonderful task to try to make some sense out of it. With all the recommendations of the staff. So thank you very much. Are there any, I'm going to ask for public comments. Any public comments on this? Okay, hearing none. Thanks, Diane, very much. And you're going to stay also.
I'm going to go work on the plan. So
there you go. Thanks.
Thank you all very, very much. Have a lovely evening.
Okay, moving on to the item 5, library advisory boards. The foundation and Friends of the Library are their official representatives of these organizations. We may see Ms. Ortiz, president of the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. Nice to see you all. I have a very short presentation to share as soon as I'm allowed to share. here we go. So I believe you all know me and the foundation. Let's start this slideshow. Here we go. Here we go. The Sonoma County Public Library Foundation, as you know, provides funding to ensure equitable access to Sonoma County library services. So you already heard from Roanoke Park about the Wi-Fi expansion. We are really excited, and I just want to say thank you to the Sonoma County Library staff and the IT team that made it come to life. We donated $40,000 in the fall 2020 to start that project. And then we just asked that $25,000 be allocated. We had previously donated $25,000, I believe in January 2019, towards the idea of the Library of Things. Things like sporting equipment or crafting equipment, baking equipment that could be checked out of the library. As we know, with COVID, that is going to be on hold for a while. So we asked for that $25,000 to be allocated to complete the project. And we're just really excited that Wi-Fi was already available for many branches, right outside, but even expanding it further. And the IT team has done a really incredible job. I've been to several libraries and used the Wi-Fi outside. So thank you. And we're really excited to be a part of that project. We have some new board members. Beryl Glitz is a retired librarian. She is a retired medical librarian from UCLA, and she has some previous experience, lots of previous experience in her previous job with grants. And so it's been, she's been retired for a while, but she is joining with one of our other members, Chloe Argara, who previously worked for Save the Children in grants. And so they're right now focusing on a small grant through Umpqua Bank, but they're really kind of setting us up to do much larger grants, kind of gathering all of the information so that we can kind of start applying to more and more grants. I think there's a lot of money out there that we're missing. And if we can funnel that money to the library, that would be fantastic. So we're really working on upping our grant game. We also have Chris Falley, who's the director of the Hospice at St. Joseph Health. And I really want to thank Barbara McKenzie, Commissioner McKenzie. Thank you so much for recommending her. She is enthusiastic and very knowledgeable, has obviously lots of knowledge with volunteers and grants and nonprofits. And so we are really, really excited to have her on board. She joined last month and she's a great addition already. We're really excited to have her. I wanted to talk a little bit about legacy. I wanted to say thank you to the people. We have gotten some really great donations in the last couple of years. And I want to call out these people who left a legacy. So Dan Mahalan, so far we have collected $185,000 in unrestricted funds, and there is more coming as we go through the process of selling off real estate securities and things like that. But we have a picture of Jude Law here, as you will see. I wanted to read something from Dan himself. I never met Mr. Mahalan, but he wrote his own obituary, and we got to read it, and he just sounded like such a character and obviously a great library lover. We have spoken to his friend who's the executor of his estate, and she said just his whole house was full of books and he was always reading. So the photo of Jude Law, who was born on December 29th, which is Dan's birthday, but not the same year. Jude is infinitely more attractive than Dan, hence the borrowed photo. That's what Mr. Mahalan wrote about himself. So I just included that because I thought, what a character. It just came through the page. And I also wanted to call out Claire McGowan, who was a Cloverdale Unified School District teacher for her career, and she left $300,000 for the Cloverdale branch. So we're really excited about that, and thank you to Claire and her family for what a generous gift. And we currently have it waiting, and we are currently waiting to see what the Cloverdale branch can do with those funds. I also wanted to talk about in memoriam gifts. Conette Gibson, who's an adult literacy success story, she sadly passed away last year, but her aunt gave a gift in memoriam of her to our foundation. And I wanted to read just what her aunt wrote about her because it's quite beautiful. Conette Gibson was born in 1986 with cerebral palsy. At the age of 7, she suffered burns to 75% of her body. The combination of these two maladies meant long and frequent stays in the hospital to accommodate her growing body. And although she did attend public schools, she graduated unable to read. We contacted the adult library program for assistance. Being a single working mother made it difficult for her mom to get connect to the library on a regular basis. And her adult library tutor, her adult literacy tutor actually went on to make house calls at her house so that she could finish tutoring. And learning how to read literally changed her life. It made it possible for her to communicate via text and email because speaking was difficult for her. She had Facebook and Instagram accounts, so important to a teenage girl. She loved being connected in all these ways. It later allowed her to become a client of Becoming Independent, which led her to landing a job at Bed Bath & Beyond. So I just want to thank, I don't know who her tutor was, but what a testament to the power of reading, and how incredible that the adult literacy program exists. The foundation is working on reaching out to experts. So we are meeting with Partnership Resource Group next week. They have worked with the Sonoma County YMCA, the Luther Burbank Center, Menlo Park Library Foundation, the Larkspur Library Community Center Foundation, and many other nonprofits. So they are going to help us kind of map out how can we become a capital fundraising organization. We know where we want to get to and we know where we are. And we have been raising funds and we want to get to the point where how can we raise more funds? What's the roadmap to get there as we're building up to a large campaign for Roseland or other library branches. Chair Doyle is going to attend our May board meeting to talk about advocacy. As you all know, she has so much experience in advocacy at the regional, state, and federal level, and that's something we're really interested in. We've talked on behalf of the Roseland Library, in support of the Roseland Library, for example, at Santa Rosa City Council meetings, but we want to know how else can we get involved to really help money and support flow to our library system. We're also going to have Melissa Kelly from the Parks Foundation join us and kind of talk to us about, again, capacity building and taking from a smaller foundation to making it bigger. And Melissa Kelly actually was on the Library Foundation and was our president several years ago. So she's happy to help come talk to us. And I just want to talk briefly about how can we partner. The foundation wants to be flexible to meet new needs. For example, the Wi-Fi project, I think it really excites us when, is there something that we can do to help out, you know? And we also want to be building that long-term plan for large projects. That's something we know the library really needs and something we are actively working on. And I think as the library kind of shifts and new projects come up, I know there's shifting priorities and maybe there's going to be a mobile library or maybe Roseland is going to include the headquarters. There's all kinds of ideas being talked about. And I think including the foundation is wonderful because one, we're all library lovers and we love to hear about them, but mainly also so that we can start incorporating these ideas into our plan for these larger projects that we can support. And something that the commission can do is suggest new board members. Again, thank you to Commissioner McKenzie for suggesting Chris. We're really excited to have her. So we are happy to talk to people about volunteering or joining the board. And you can also suggest to people about leaving a legacy. As you saw, it can really make a huge difference. And what a way to leave a legacy for our library system. And lastly, I kind of want to bring up the archives because I feel a little bit confused about mixed messages, and maybe that's just me. We were asked if we would accept donations for the archives, which we're happy to do and send them on to the library for the archives. But we think there could be a bigger opportunity with grants or with kind of fundraising around historical knowledge. I think there's already the History and Genealogy Library. There's a great love of history in this county. There's all kinds of different events and things. And so I feel like we're kind of missing an opportunity to reach out to potential donors. I understand maybe the worry about getting crosshairs. You know, I know that Roseland is the big project and we are absolutely committed to that. But I don't think that means that there's not other opportunities to raise money for the library system. So just want to throw that out there as an opportunity. And that's it for me.
Thanks very much, Ms. Ortiz. As ever, very informative and very helpful. Do we have any questions, comments from the commission? from the public?
Chair Doyle, we do
Oh,
have,
I'm sorry. Commissioner
Chair
Elkin?
Doyle, we do have a comment from Commissioner Elkind and Commissioner Foxen.
Commissioner Elkin.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Sarah for another excellent presentation, and just to say how happy I am to see the continuing development of the foundation. Really exciting that you're expanding your reach and continuing to attract significant resources. So congratulations, and please keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, who else had a comment? I don't see a hand.
Commissioner Foxen.
Commissioner Foxen.
Thank you. Sarah, I want to thank you. I have seen so much change and so much movement forward since you have become involved. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate it. And thank you. That's all. I mean, it sounds so inadequate in some ways, but thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And you, of course, are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting also.
I'm so sorry. I have one last thing.
Yes?
If you don't mind, I apologize. I just wanted to say that I joined the Harwood Institute training and with Director Hammond, and thank you so much for inviting me. Again, that's a great way to partner. We were so happy to go. Really appreciate it, and we've been doing the same, trying to reach outward as well. Sorry that I just remembered that. I just wanted to comment on that because it was such a great opportunity, and we really appreciate being included. And I found it really interesting. As part of that program, we were supposed to go out and ask, not necessarily library users, what they wanted from their community. And a couple people I asked talked about things like that they wanted from the library that the library already does. A lot of things, actually. And it made me just realize that I just need to talk up the library more. But it did make me realize the connection of the library is already offering a lot of things that people really need and want. We just got to get them there. So anyways, I'm sorry for interrupting. That was it for me.
Thanks very much. All right, moving on to library reports. I'm sorry.
Chair Doyle, we missed public appearances. I have a couple of comments from the commission.
Oh, golly, how did I do that? I'm so sorry.
One of them is for the archives, and we can wait until the archives report.
If the public comments, are there any public comments that don't involve the archives?
Yes, there's one that deals with hiring.
All right, public comments.
Shall I read them both, or?
Please.
Okay. I'll read the archives first. Is that all right?
No, read the archives will come later. It's the ones that don't involve something that's on the agenda.
Okay. This is from Diane Grainer. She says, thank you for the opportunity to participate during public appearances. I have been told the commissioners will be considering a policy regarding the hiring of library extra help who are members of the Sonoma County Library Advisory Boards and friends of the library boards. It may also include the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation Board. I don't know the background of the labs or foundation, but I do have extensive experience with the Friends of the Windsor Library. The Friends organizations are nonprofit. They are individual organizations not part of the library system, but their sole purpose is to support their library. They are not political organizations. As nonprofits, they cannot be political. The Friends organizations have absolutely no role in library policies, organization, or procedures. I hope you will make a decision as soon as possible about hiring Friends board members so human resources can move forward with the hiring process, and that you will agree that all qualified applicants should receive equal consideration for employment, whether they support the library as Friends board member or not. Please allow HR to hire applicants based on experience and qualifications. I have submitted an application for library specialist extra help, a job I performed for nearly 13 years until last year when extra help employees were separated from the library. Thank you for your time. And the other one, I will wait for your notice at the archives.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to library support reports. Anne?
Thank you. So if we can bring up the page, please. The big news, obviously, is that we have reopened our libraries, most of our libraries, and people were very, very excited about that. It's a very limited amount of time, just 1 hour blocks twice a day. Very restricted numbers of people allowed in the buildings, but it's a start. And I think our staff are going to be very eager to expand the hours and the capacity as soon as possible. So we're going to be continuing to look at that. Looking at the circulation data and the program data, et cetera, that's presented each month, you know, we do year over year comparisons. And up until now, it's been a little depressing because we were comparing 2019 at times when we were, you know, at the height of our capacity to the 2020 closures. So this month, for the first time, we're comparing apples to apples because in March, April of 2020, we were closed. March, April of 2021, we were closed. We had not yet started our open hours. We were doing curbside. So what you can see from the data is how the use of our services kind of evolved over time. We obviously were not checking out any physical materials at the beginning of the pandemic. And so people kind of rushed to get those online e-cards so that they could then check out ebooks and get the downloadable materials and streaming services. That continued through almost the entirety of the past year. It's a little bit lower now because people do have access to the physical materials once again. But the digital materials are still a very strong showing for us. And likewise, our programming, we didn't have as many programs in terms of the numbers because of the restrictions that were placed on us. We developed some amazing online programs, and those are continuing. So it's just an interesting thing to see how the public responded. There were so many restrictions, and yet they kept coming back to the libraries for whatever we could do for them. And our staff, of course, responded. They're so innovative and so dedicated to public service. So here, this is where we are now. And I think if you look through the detail of the division reports, you'll see that there's some wonderful things happening all through the different parts of the library. And as Sarah Ortiz mentioned, we've had some great donations lately, which again, that shows how much the community values their public library system. So I can segue into the archives report from there if you like.
Unless there are any, yeah, why don't you do that and then we'll take comments and questions afterwards.
Okay, so we've been doing a monthly report on the archives to update everyone on where we stand with caring for these materials. And this month we thought it would be a good idea to do some frequently asked questions. Put some answers up there responding to things that we know that the commission is interested in, and the public. These are some questions that we get from the public. So you can read through those and see that we've outlined what the issues are and where we stand regarding these materials. I can tell you that we're working very closely with the county trying to find a solution, and I think we're making good progress there. Staff completed the inventory last week. They have a little bit more work to do in terms of organizing all of the information they collected, but it was a great first step, and we're moving on. We're looking for ways to protect the materials.
Thanks very much. The library news and the library publicity kind of speak for themselves. There's quite a lot of it. So with that, I will ask for public comment on Anne's reports that would include archives. And Jane, I believe you said that we have a letter. Jane? Jane, was there a public comment on archives? Well, then why don't I ask for Commissioner?
Excuse me, I didn't unmute myself. I was
Okay.
reading to the silence. Please excuse me. I will read right now.
Okay.
This is from Catherine Reinhardt, co-chair of Advocates for the Sonoma County Archives. Dear Commissioners, we appreciate the opportunity to comment on this month's archives report. We look forward to seeing the results of the in-house inventory and hearing more about your discussions with the Board of Supervisors. As shared in previous public comments and emails to individual commissioners, we ask that funding for the relocation, improved management of, and accessibility to the Sonoma County Archives collection be included in the 2021-2022 budget. We understand that the size and content of the collection will change as the library and the county determine who will take responsibility for the various records. However, planning for the storage, physical and virtual, continued cataloging and digitization and care of the Sonoma County Archives collection must be accounted for in the budget. The archives report mentions that people can donate toward the relocation of these materials through the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation. We are happy to encourage advocates for the Sonoma County Archives, ASCA, supporters to make donations once we all have an understanding of what those materials are, how and where they will be relocated, managed, and made available to library patrons. These patrons include not just historians, but attorneys, land use planners, surveyors, journalists, educators, genealogists, county and city employees, and countless others requiring access to primary records. In the meantime, the ASCA committee is eager to work with the library and the county in developing a plan of action that results in the preservation of the Sonoma County Archives. Sincerely, Lynn Downey and Catherine J. Reinhardt, co-chairs of Advocates for the Sonoma County Archives. And that is all.
Thanks, Jane. That's the last public comment. Okay. Commission comments.
I'd like to make a comment, please.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Frank Baumgartner. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello. Thank you very much for opening up the public comment. I'm concerned about the safety of the site at Los Gallicos. And I know that there may be some work being done to protect it from wildfires, but I just want to remind you, of course, the depository you have now was almost destroyed twice in 2017 and again in 2020. And I just went out there yesterday, and I can tell you it's not any better than it was then. And I think it's time to find a new location, perhaps in Roanoke Park, somewhere far away from where there's a danger. And I was curious about something that Catherine Reinhardt, a point she made, that there was $137,000 that came from Measure Y that was allocated in 2019. I don't know if the archives ever received any part of that. And I'm concerned that the director has seen, according to Catherine, she's vetoed the idea of bringing, for safety's sake, bringing any of the records to store them in the basement of the regional library, the main library. I mean, I know this is a lot, and I really appreciate your time, And I don't mean to be overly critical because I know you're doing a great job, and it's difficult, and it's been really difficult with COVID and all the other challenges you have. So I just want to end by thanking you all for the great job you do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgartner. Any other public comments? Okay, Commissioner McKenzie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I had it up actually way back when. I wanted to go back to Ann's operation report, which
we need to take the public comment after all of this. So thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, I went back to the operations report. I love these and I appreciate all the staff time that goes into keeping us informed on all the operational details. I wanted to ask on page 21, it says that the biblio, what are we calling it? The van, the biblio bus.
Bibliobus
is ready. So very exciting. Wanted to ask about, I'll just ask all my questions really quickly. If we have any kind of immediate plans for that. Secondly, that the automated materials handling thing is actually happening, which is amazing. And maybe we can get a video of that so we can see kind of how that works. And I also saw that there was something called a stanchion queue or something, and then something called a Lingso sorter. And they were mentioned by name. So I thought maybe you could let us know what those were.
Okay, sure. So
Thank you.
The bibliobus is not on site yet. It is almost completely configured, and we'll be receiving it soon. We have the staff already hired for the bus, and we've been preparing the materials and getting everything ready so that we'll be ready to hit the road as soon as we get the bus. I'm trying to remember what else you talked about. The AMH, the automated materials handler, that's been in place and operating for a couple of weeks now. It's doing very well. And the Lingso sorter, that's the same thing. That's just the name of it. That's the company that we went through.
Okay. The other one was the stanchion queue control, something like that.
Okay, that's part of our reopening for the maintaining the social distancing.
Oh,
stanchions to create lines, etc.
Just a little temporary.
That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? There's a lot in your reports, Ann. We're just trying to dig through a lot of wonderful fund development work, a lot of work with Roseland. I'm sure that, and we're aware that you've had to juggle a number of things, openings and and closings, and we're just delighted that the staff is working so hard on all of these projects. Just really salute you for working on these things. So moving into the budget and finance report. And you want to start off? Or is Randy going to start for us?
Randy's here, and I think it would be good for him to start us off on this one. Randy, are you still here? There he is.
There we go.
Good.
You are muted, Randy.
Well, while we're waiting for him to get his connection, Andy, is there anything you would like to say at the beginning about our Financial reports?
I'll just make a brief comment. First of all, I want to thank Randy and his team for all the work that they have been doing over the last few months to provide the reports to us in an evolving and comprehensive and clear and accurate format. That's been a big help to the Finance Committee. The news is essentially what it was when we talked a month ago. Our revenues have been trending well ahead of the very cautious budget that we had set out last year and early into this fiscal year with all the uncertainty of the pandemic. We should have received our second property tax payment in the month of April. Of course, that's not reflected yet in the reports that we're looking at here, but that will go a long way toward telling us how we're going to end the year from a revenue perspective. In terms of sales tax, we have continued to do well. Our sales tax is well ahead of what we had budgeted, and in fact is continuing to exceed what we had collected up to this point in the prior fiscal year. So that's all good news. Meanwhile, the library continues to control expenses appropriately and cautiously. The one thing that you will see on the page that is being shown here is in the budget column over to the left, that column that's highlighted in green. Capital expenses show as $5.5 million. This is the first month that this report reflects that figure, and it's a correction. Randy and his team have added in capital expenses that had been previously approved by the commission, but had not been included in the previous reports. So you can see that the budget for the year projects a significant deficit, but in fact, given that our revenues have been pacing well ahead of budget and that there's only a few months left in this year to actually begin the work that would draw down on those capital expenses, I think that we're gonna be finishing the year not as depicted by the budget. And then of course the commission will need to reauthorize those expenses at the beginning of the next fiscal year. But I think that's the big picture, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
I don't see any hands up. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking also. I'm not seeing anybody.
No hand.
Okay. And no Randy.
I see his name, but he's on mute. Yeah.
Right. Well, shall we move on then?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Andy. Any public comment? Any commission comments? Okay. Then we will move into commission and liaison reports. You see our collected commission reports. I will go down the list and ask if anybody has anything to add to their commissioner reports. Commissioner Cahill? Commissioner
Sorry,
Cahill?
there's nothing to add.
Okay,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Elkin? Commissioner Elkin?
Nothing to add, sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Foxen?
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Heavenridge?
I have nothing to add. It stands as written.
Commissioner Hauser?
I have nothing to add. I will talk about the financial report. I think what Andy said about it is the primary thing. He's covered the highlights that need to be covered, and that's adequate. Thank you. And I have nothing to add for the Library Foundation report.
Great. Commissioner McKenzie,
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Commissioner Mulford.
I would just like to say that I appreciate that my outreach to Dr. Tong resulted in him sending an emissary to our meeting this evening. And I was really very moved by the words that she had shared.
Thank you. Commissioner Newberg is not here. Commissioner Parker.
Well, between being on vacation and then down with allergies, I didn't file a report. I did attend the lab meeting for Roanoke Parkatati branch last week or so, and also have listened in on both the Advocacy and Finance Committee report meetings during the prior month. My apologies on not getting my report in.
Welcome home. Commissioner Schneider.
I too am delinquent and promise to catch up next year on my attendance report, but I wanted to specifically thank Commissioner Mulford for her advocacy and action to get that resolution here and to get a representative. Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. And my only comment is really related to advocacy, but I was fortunate enough to meet with, and not just alone, but meet with staffers from Congresswoman Pelosi's office and Congressman McCarthy's office, and we know that things are tense on the Hill, but Congressman McCarthy was actually in the meeting, and he said that if and you know that there's an infrastructure bill that's being considered. President Biden introduced one. There's no library funding specifically in that infrastructure bill. Although there is another bill that's circulating on the Hill that has to do the Build America's Library Act. And so I think the library plan is to hopefully get the Build America's Library Act into the larger Infrastructure Act. But Congressman McCarthy, you know, he's tough. He's the minority whip now. But he told us that if libraries didn't ask for significant funding, that we were losing the opportunity of a generation. And that same day, the Democrats in the state Senate here in California introduced their infrastructure bill, and library funding is there. And so I think this is a wonderful opportunity for library workers and library supporters, like civilian supporters of all kinds, to make sure that they're in touch with their representatives, to thank them for their support or to ask them for their support. We are fortunate here in that our representatives, both senators now, have co-sponsored the Build America's Library Act. But what we need them to do is we really need them to think about the infrastructure bill. So if you can call, it doesn't take very many people to catch the attention of a legislative office. If only 100 people call and say, you need to fund libraries, you need to fund infrastructure for libraries, it's incredibly important. So if anybody needs information about their representatives, needs to know how to get in touch with them, they're all on Facebook, they're all on Twitter, but they've also got telephone numbers and they've got email addresses, so we can certainly help you find that if you're interested. But this is really the opportunity of a lifetime, and it's ours to lose. We've got the leadership in both houses, and both of the senators. Padilla is a strong literacy supporter, and Senator Feinstein has always supported libraries in San Francisco and in California. So anyway, so please think about that, and that's the advocacy. That's the additional advocacy message. Any public comments on that? On the reports, committee and liaison reports? I don't see any hands. Any commission comments again? Okay, we have a lab appointment for Santa Rosa. Commissioner Schneider, would you like to talk to us about that?
Yes, I would. I'm just texting the appointee. She's gonna say she wanted me to text her, and I gave her a heads up that it was very, very imminent. So yeah, so I'm delighted that, oh, great, Pam is here. Pamela, let me pull up make sure I get her last name correct. Pamela Velhelsima, and Pam, step in if I mangled your last name. I actually know Pam from when she worked at Sonoma State. I was so delighted to see her come to the apply to the lab, and I think that we definitely need another person on the lab. And she's got a wonderful background, and so I would like to move that the Sonoma County Library appoint the following applicant to the term as listed: Pamela Van Halsema to an advisory position on the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board for a term ending on June 30th, 2025.
I'd like to second that.
Right. Any comments on that before I ask for the vote? Okay. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen. Commissioner Foxen.
Sometimes the key works and sometimes it doesn't. Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I'll make it unanimous. Welcome, Pamela. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Nice to see all of you, and I'm honored to help serve the community in this way. I have a master's in library information science from San Jose State. I worked in the education department at Sonoma State for 15 years. So I've been very involved in education. I've served as a teen youth librarian at Petaluma schools. And I've been working on grants for the California State Library to help build maker spaces in underserved communities across the state. And I see the library as a wonderful community hub for everyone. And I also am a fire survivor and know a whole lot about fire stuff. It's my other stock and trade, and I'm working with Rebuild North Bay Foundation with some communications work in that regard and helping build out some communications platforms to help us be more resilient. So if you want to geek out on taxonomies of wildfire, I would love to talk to you. That's something I need to know more about. But it's an honor to serve, and I hope that we can keep moving forward together.
Welcome aboard. Thank you very much. All right, I think I asked for public comments and commission comments. All right, now we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Does anybody have any objections to 9.1 or 9.2?
I move that we approve the consent calendar consisting of the lease payoff for the copier and the minutes of the April 5, 2021 regular meeting.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Then I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I will make it unanimous. Wonderful. Okay. Then the 10.1 is only here because we got the year wrong last month. So this is something that we've already approved. This is just a formatting error, and I think I was probably the one that got the fiscal year wrong. So we are going to vote again for the 2021 step increase for Library Director Ann Hammond, retroactive to the dates eligible.
I move that we approve that.
Second.
Thanks, David. All right. Any comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge,
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Mr. Mulford,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider.
Yes.
I'll make it unanimous. Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right. And now we are going to move into a closed session. Thank you to those of us who have been with us. We'll be back shortly. we're all here. Okay. I'm now reconvening the open session pursuant to California Government Code.
Excuse me,
549.
Chair Doyle,
Yep.
excuse me, could you wait? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was waiting for them to turn the recording on, but it is on now, so go ahead. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Jane. Government Code 54957.1. There was no action in the closed session. All right. Any agenda items for future commission meetings? Commissioners? And Ann?
Oh,
Obviously, we're going to be talking about the budget.
Yes.
Chair Doyle, we have Commissioner Schneider and
Commissioner
Commissioner McKenzie.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes, thank you. I just want to remind us all to keep our eye on the archives reporting and continue to share the good news as things develop.
Thanks,
and of
Chair.
course, Roseland updates, always important.
Commissioner McKenzie?
yes. I don't know that this is an agenda item, but I just wanted to reference back to the public comment about supposedly a policy was being brought to us about hiring people if they were already a friend of the library or lab. I don't know anything about that question that she was asking, and I didn't know if a policy was indeed coming before us about that.
It may, but it's not done yet.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Anybody else? The California Library Association is meeting later this month, so and perhaps some of the librarians or some of the staff will either have given reports or could report on their activities there. And if somebody is presenting at ALA, I think it would be interesting for us to hear what kind of reports we're giving out from Sonoma, what we're bragging about. I guess that's the, okay, that's great. Anybody else? I don't see any hands up.
Well,
Commissioner
Deborah, I'm
Elkins?
not sure this is an agenda item, but this is Jane Clickman's last commission meeting with us.
Exactly. So we will be adjourning in her honor in moments.
Oh, I had a feeling that might be taking place, and there she is. Okay. I just want to thank you, Jane, for everything you've done to help me during the 3 years I've been on the commission. Really appreciate it and wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very
Other
much.
commissioners. Jane,
Yes,
really?
I'd like to say, Jane, thank you also. And I guess, can I talk to you about retirement tips, how to retire?
Sure, you can
That
give
would
me
be
a call.
nice. That would be nice. Thank you.
Okay,
Good luck to you.
thank you. I want to
Jane,
thank you all. It was a pleasure to work with all of you.
Jane, I just wanted to share with you that I really appreciate how you guided me onto the commission and through, the what for me was a little bit rocky, kind of, just first immersion into this body. And I do appreciate all of your help and your years of service.
You're welcome. Thank you for your kind words.
This is Barbara, and I just wanted to say that you make an excellent party host, and I love the fact that you kind of took over as the master of ceremonies at your party, and I thought it was wonderful, and I want to know if you ate all that cake by yourself.
I'm afraid I did.
Anyway,
it was a fun party, and thank you to all of you who contributed to my retirement fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the party, and I thought it was a terrific event. And of course, Jane was immense help to me, especially as a beginning commissioner. So good luck and don't work anymore.
Thank you, David.
I want to add my appreciation for the onboarding process. There were so many documents and so many things to dot I's and cross T's, and Jane made it all go so smoothly. So thank you very much, Jane.
You're welcome. I'm glad to do it.
Thanks very much, Jane. We will miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, for walking with me, because I was still learning when you came on board. So it was kind of fun to learn together. And I appreciate all the help you've given me all the years. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Have fun. By the way, everybody keeps saying, oh, don't take another job, but you'll find something to do, I'm sure.
I think I will.
Lots of things. Thank you, Jane. We'll miss you.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Jane.
will.
You're welcome.
The next regular meeting on Monday, June 7th will be sadder without you there, but we will try to press on. So with that, we will adjourn by acclamation in your honor. Thanks again.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care, everybody.
Thanks,
Okay,
Jane.
good night.
Take care,
And-
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.